Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Digestible Podcast. I'm Staci, along with my co-host and sister, Missy/Melissa. And here at the Digestible Podcast, we give you all the health and wellness information you need in an amount of time that your busy day can handle. And we make it easily digestible. Missy, who do we have with us today?
Well, Staci, today we have Teri Arieti. She is the founder of Arieti Consulting, an executive functioning coach with 8+ years of experience, specializing in ADHD and anxiety. She helps clients build skills like organization, time management, emotional regulation, and goal setting through a personalized, structured approach. She has a master's in elementary education and 15 years of teaching experience, and she understands how these challenges affect students academically and emotionally. She also works with businesses and organizations through workshops and group programs. Teri combines teaching and coaching strategies to create practical systems that build independence, confidence, and long-term success.
And oh my gosh, we had a great conversation with her, and now we all need Teri to come help us all in our homes.
We need Teri. Well, and I tried to make it my own personal coaching session, but you know.
Yeah, I think we could all use a little Teri, but hopefully you will walk away with some good tips and tricks, and also maybe come to the realization that maybe you or someone you know needs an executive functioning coach. I think Teri keeps very busy because everyone has the issues that she describes in our session. So enjoy the episode.
Enjoy.
Hi, Teri. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
We're so excited to have you today. So for those that don't know, will you explain to us what is executive functioning?
Yes. So I get this question quite a bit. Executive functioning is ultimately where I create systems and strategies for areas of struggle. So anything that you feel is challenging in your day to day, we chat it out, we figure out what systems may or may not be in place, and we create systems to support that area.
So an executive functioning like deficit just looks like a part of the day that doesn't work, falls apart. Like, what does it look like when someone has that deficit?
So it's a good question. Ultimately, it's really like if you're struggling with a morning routine, an after work routine, an after school routine, you're struggling with that time and project management, you're struggling with something as simple as you're losing your keys every day. I work to create that system so that everything feels more organized and more manageable. I think oftentimes we lose time in our day because there's that deep dark web on our phone. We're lost and scrolling through social media. So it's a lot of working through what is our distraction, what is just hard, and creating systems to support that.
Okay, so it sounds like we all need an executive functioning.
Yeah, yes, please.
That's the way you're describing it. Oh my gosh. Okay,
but it's more than just habit building, right? It's more than that. Like fail safes in place, maybe to like reminders or like something that works for that person, right?
Yes. So I'm also certified in anxiety and ADHD, and that's also those go hand in hand with executive functioning. So one example that I give to everyone that I work with, regardless if you have anxiety and ADHD or not, but I feel like it makes sense. It's like ping pong. When you're playing ping pong, there's 2 players and there's 1 ball. When you have ADHD or you're struggling with executive functioning, you're 1 player and you're trying to be on both sides of the table, and you have 75 ping pong balls coming your way and you don't even know which one to hit first. So you're like, forget it. I just won't hit any of them. And then you're backlogged and you're overwhelmed and you're stressed because you know what you need to get done, but you're so overwhelmed. You don't know what to touch first. And so you're kind of like, I'll leave it for later, right?
Right.
And so a lot of that, if you can imagine, the ping pong balls are all, 1 ping pong ball is homework. 1 ping pong ball is getting the laundry put away because mom told me I needed to. 1 ping pong ball is sending emails. 1 ping pong ball is deleting emails. 1 ping pong ball is getting out the door on time. So it's just so many parts of our everyday world that we just feel so overwhelmed with because internally we're struggling with how to do that all at once. So that's where
Okay,
I
so
come in.
rather than seeing it as a bunch of ping pong balls coming at you at the same time, think of it as every time the ping pong ball comes back, you can hit it, but it's one at a time. I'm going to do this,
Right.
hit it, this.
With, yes, with the systems put in place. So once those systems are put in place, all of those ping pong balls, if you think about it, are going to streamline and come into one row, one line, and you'll be able to manage each ball one at a time once those
Okay.
systems are put in place.
Yeah, that's great. Great imagery.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds great.
when should somebody consider getting support or coaching? Because it sounds like everyone needs help
It
in
sounds like we
different.
all need it.
We all need it.
We do. You know, it's wild. Like, I always say I'm a mom first, and as a mom, I need help too. So it's not that it's one specific picture of what someone should look like that needs executive functioning. We all need it. Um, I don't think that there's a certain age or time. I truly think it's when you are recognizing that you're really having a hard time or when your child's having a hard time. A lot of times people will come to me because they had a neuropsych or they've had a call from the teacher. But then there's adults who are coming to me because they're so overwhelmed with their day, they don't know how to use it. Now you plug in kids and you really just don't know what to do. But then there's people who I'm working with in business who just need to create systems for their business so that it flows and everything is streamlined. So I always say once you recognize that there's a struggle or there's been a recommendation, pick up a phone and call. It can never hurt.
So what does it look like? Uh, how young do kids start? Like when do people first notice some executive functioning? I'm going to call it deficit. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So
challenge.
how young can you see the challenges, and what do you do for a young child versus what you do for a middle schooler, a high schooler, and an adult?
These are all really great questions. And again, there's not necessarily an age, but at the same time, there are younger kids, whether it's preschool, kindergarten, first grade, who are physically struggling within the classroom. Again, there's so much development between that 4 to 7 year old phase of life that it's hard to truly identify if it's executive functioning. However, that's when a parent might reach out to have the parent coaching so that they can implement some systems in the home and then also streamline what the classroom teacher might be incorporating so that we try to get everyone on the same page with systems, sort of to figure out what's working, what's not working, what can we modify, what can we differentiate. So in regards to an age, it really just depends. I think oftentimes it's more like later elementary, fifth grade, when you start to head into middle school, that parents are trying to identify how to incorporate systems to make middle school feel more manageable. But then you also have the middle school of that seventh, eighth grade family who's like, oh my gosh, we're going to high school. I want to ensure that my middle school kid feels prepared. But then you also have the high school family who's like, my kid is going to college and I want them to be independent of me and have some systems in place. So
Yeah.
there's such a rainbow of ages that I work with, that it kind of depends on where you're identifying that struggle, like what age.
Okay. And then as an adult, I feel like as an adult, there's just so many, especially if you're a parent, there's so many things pulling at your attention that it's hard to manage all the ping pong balls and to
Yes.
prioritize. And certain things you can, require you to respond right away. But then if that's in the mode so in other words, what I'm asking for, Teri, is a personal counseling session during this interview because I've got some questions.
Right.
But we can go back to this. Sorry. Okay, we'll go back to the questions that we had ready.
It's true. It's like, and again, it's like every phase of life. So I've shared a little bit about like early learning, right? That 4 to 7, then the early elementary, then middle school, high school, college. But then you graduate college. I mean, I'm working with some college kids who have graduated, and we're just working on how to find a job, creating systems like, hey, you got to respond to an email. You need to track who you've reached out to. So there's so many phases of life. And now you've got the job, and now you're the adult, and now you have kids, and now you're so overwhelmed with life that you're not able to take care of yourself. And so that's where that one-on-one really comes in, on all ages. That's awesome.
I have so many questions right now.
Yeah, me too. Okay, well, let's stick to the original ones, and then we'll tack this on to the end. Go ahead.
Yeah, like how do you, when you meet with someone for the first time, how do you determine if, and maybe it doesn't even matter, how do you determine if you're working with somebody who is just unmotivated, if there's really like anxiety or fatigue? Like, do you try to get to the root cause, or is it more about like, this is what's not working? And
you guys have really amazing questions. And ultimately, what happens is someone's reaching out to me, whether it's a parent for a child or a parent who's reaching out for themselves, or if it's a business that's just like, we are a disaster and we need help. When I have that initial phone call, that's where I'm really digging deep with whoever it is that I'm speaking with. So if it's a parent who's reaching out about their child, they are giving me 1,000,001 examples, and I'm able to truly identify, all right, so I hear X, Y, and Z. And so this is the direction that I would go. These are some goals that I would put in place if you decide that this is something that you feel would be beneficial for your child. So part one is that initial phone call. And then part two is where we set up an intake. And during that intake, I always say I want everyone to be a part of it, because to me, it takes a village, and it truly takes everyone to be a part of mastering the success. Ultimately, the goal of executive functioning is to be able to independently apply the systems and strategies put in place, which means sometimes that requires mom and dad checking in, right? But ultimately, I'm the one that's holding them accountable. But it is nice to have the home front who knows what our goals are. So during the intake is where we talk about what our strengths and struggles are. And from that, we identify the goals in which we want to start the journey of executive functioning. What you as a parent might say is a strength for your child might be like, what are you talking about, Mom? I'm great at that. And you're going to be like, well, let me give you some examples of last week when we were struggling. And then the child's like, oh, right. And so that's why I think it's important to have everyone on the intake or in the intake, so that everything's put out on the table and everyone has that open communication, because dialogue and narrative is huge in ensuring the success of the client.
how does like do you see a client weekly? Like how does it work?
So that's a good question too. So, which honestly, I think everyone asks me. I always say, let's start with one session a week, because I don't know your child. I don't know the parent that I'm working with. I don't know the business that I'm working with. It's fairly easy to identify if someone needs twice a week. But ultimately we start with once, and then we just build from there if needed.
Are there some like common tools that you incorporate that you could share with us that maybe some of our listeners...
Yes, please tell us all your little secrets.
So
obviously we need them.
I am a lover of the 80s. I was born in the 70s, late 70s, and the 80s was just a gift to us that I don't think we cherish enough.
Agreed.
Paper and pencil, a planner, a desktop calendar, a notebook. I just think that we are living in a world that is overloaded with technology. Technology can be our best friend and our worst enemy. And I tell this to everyone that I work with or even just have conversations with. We need to pull out what's inside of that technology, because that in itself is what's so overwhelming and overstimulating to people who truly are struggling. So I'm a strong believer in writing things down, putting Post-it notes up throughout your home, making a checklist, writing things down in a planner, using that desktop calendar so you can create deadlines. You can do backwards design. If I have a test on Friday, what do I need to do Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday? If that's inside of your phone calendar, you can't see it. So I always say out of sight, out of mind.
Mhm.
So my biggest thing and I know one of the questions might be, what's your takeaway? The takeaway is get things out of your phone, get things out of the computer, write it down so you can visually see, touch it, feel it, be able to mark something off, highlight it. Like we've lost that tool.
I love
that
what you're
is
saying right now. I love what you're saying.
Yes, it's like we've lost this golden tool. College kids, everything's there are no textbooks anymore. Everything's on the computer. How do you touch that computer? How do you highlight it? Like I know there's a highlighter and my college kids have proven to me that, oh, here's the highlighter. I'm like, no, it's so different. So I encourage people to print things, highlight, annotate, because that is such a lost tool that I think if we bring that back and we set aside the technology, I mean, there's research out there that shows how much we're losing with technology. So that is probably my biggest tool: paper, pencil, a highlighter.
Okay,
I love that.
I have a
Simple.
question though. I have a question. I know
Yeah.
someone in my life, and that person will not be named, who writes stuff, who likes to write stuff down, but then can't remember where they wrote it down because they write down things in several places. So how do you deal with that?
Yes, that's an awesome question. First of all, let's pat that person on the back and applaud them for writing things down.
Okay.
That's where we would then incorporate the system. What works for that person? Or I should say, what would work for that person? So we always want to give ownership to the people that are getting the executive functioning supports. So it's having a conversation with the person that's got great lists, but they're everywhere and we don't know where they are. And ask that person, what would be a good system so that we can streamline your 75 notes to yourself? So is it a notebook? Is it a planner? Something that they can keep in one place. Like I'm going to show you guys. I have my planner. It is always with me. I have a notebook. It's always in my drawer. So that whenever I need to write things down, I have my tools, I have them with me. But I think for someone who already has the idea of being able to see what they need to do, we just need to implement the system of how can we streamline and have it in one place.
Okay. I've recently found that, so I would have to-do lists, and I use an app for my to-do list, but I also have a notebook where I write down thoughts. If I have meetings, I take down notes. But I decided, because at first I'm like, should I have a work notebook and a home notebook and da-da-da-da-da-da? So I have everything in one place. So I put all my thoughts and my notes for work, for home, in one notebook. Because then I'm never like, which notebook is it in? And if I have to write something down for home and my home notebook's not here, but my work notebook's here, then I confuse it. And the same thing with the to-do lists, is I just put them all in one spot. And then if I want to, you can always create the My Day on this to-do list, little check app, and I can just put, like, if I'm just working today, then I'll put all my to-dos that are work-related in there. But that way, I don't lose track. That's how it works for me. But, like, for a while, I had so many different things. And I was like, where did I put my notes from that meeting? Where did I put so now I'm just, like, everything's in one place. Like, all the notes are.
And the other thing is, if you do have one notebook that you're putting everything in, I always tell people you can either create that invisible line within the notebook where on the left side, it's your personal to-do list, and on the right side, it's your work, or draw a line down the middle, but something that you can visually identify and prioritize and organize so that everything isn't smushed together. Like in my planner, on the left side is work, and on the right side is social, my kids, sports, anything that's not related to work. So when I look at my planner, and even my husband, I've kind of trained him how my brain works. He knows if he's trying to figure out what my work day looks like, he knows to look on the left. If he
Okay.
needs to know what the kids are doing, he looks at the right.
That's great. And then also you don't end up like double booking something. Like,
Correct.
like your kid
Yeah.
needs something. Oh, but you had an appointment, so you'll do the thing for the kid later. Because that was the other thing. It was like, I have all these calendars in my phone that show me the kids' calendar and my work
Ugh, I
calendar.
hate that.
But
Everything's
then,
different
Yeah.
color and it's so overwhelming.
but then
Yeah.
my ex likes to share his calendar, so I know when he's not occupied, and then I have to remember to turn that calendar off if I don't need to see it, but then I have to remember to turn
Right.
it back on. It's so hard. So I like your system. I think that sounds great. Anyway,
Well, the other thing is like, we have a dear friend who she's got different calendars similar to what you're saying, and they're paper calendars. One's for the kids, one's for her, one's for work. And then at that point, you are double booking and you
yeah.
don't know where to look. And so and so's looking here and so is working there. And it's like, let's figure out how can we streamline everything. Like streamline is a huge keyword right now.
hmm
How can we streamline systems that are working but need a little bit of modification?
Okay, so
Right.
since we have you on, and this is your area of expertise, I'm going to shift to a different topic that I think has a lot to do with executive functioning, and that's
Yeah.
interruptions.
Oh,
Right? There's
I'm a
okay, so there's
yeah.
different kinds of work that requires different amounts of attention. And whenever you're pulled away from something, it can take you several minutes to get back into it. And so I find, especially in the world of everything, your phone buzzing, kids coming in, somebody trying to get in touch with you, someone popping in by your desk at work. How do you help people with executive functioning that are dealing with interruptions, especially people with attention issues?
Yeah. I think you just sort of like named my life. Like,
Right?
I my door, I've hidden everything that's a distract. Yes. I think oftentimes that is the number one. Well, there's a lot of number one conversations. I've got to be honest. There's not like one thing that everyone's always talking about because, again, we're living in this world of technology that is our distraction, but also it's our tool to find what we need, whether
Right.
it's school, workload, kid schedule. That is the number one distraction. So for me, I don't know that I have the best advice, even though this is what I do, but like a lot of times I'll just say, put that phone in another room. Charge your phone in another room. Whatever the physical distraction is, put it away. Remove it from your space.
Yeah.
Put the child in another room.
Yeah.
Right.
Another tool that I really love, and I always say it's very elementary, but a visual timer that's not on your phone. I bought one for our house where it's literally like the one that you turn and you can see
The
I've got
egg
10,
timer.
9. Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful support system so that you're able to have a distraction after you've completed the task in the time that you've set your
Okay.
timer for.
So a timer.
Again, the Pomodoro system is amazing. A lot of people are
What's the
not familiar
Pomodoro
with it.
system?
It's amazing. I
Because
will
I'm writing
share
it
with you.
down.
It's amazing. So the Pomodoro system is ultimately creating a set amount of time that you're going to complete a task, and then you give yourself a break for 10 minutes. So they say like
Oh, mhm.
25 minutes to complete your task and a 10-minute structured task. So it's not like, okay, I've got a 10-minute break and I can go jump on my phone. We all know where that leads. So your structured task might be fold the laundry. Okay. So you've had that 10 minutes of folding laundry. Now you're coming back for your next, like part 2 of Pomodoro. So now you have another 25 minutes of work. Then you have another 10-minute break. And your supported task or your structured task is put the laundry away.
I like that.
Another 25 minutes of
Yeah.
work, another 10-minute break. It might be take a walk around the block.
I'm
what
the
kind
walker.
of
I do the walks on my breaks.
So it's knowing the type of person you are and knowing the type of break you need. If it's a younger kid who's struggling with that anxiety and ADHD and loses focus, let's get them outside. Let's get some air.
Yeah.
It might be shooting hoops for 10 minutes. It might be running with your parent, for 10 minutes. But anything that's going to be structured to keep out the distraction.
Okay.
I love that.
James Clear talks about, he's the habit guy. Anyway, his book, bad habits. He says, put your phone in another room. Put your phone in another room.
Like happen,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Just play. Like we all know what the distraction is. And even, I mean, I know a lot of times I'm working on the computer and then it's like, oh, let me just pull up a tab real quick and see what's going on, whatever store. That can be a distraction too. So I think a lot of times it's just giving yourself the mental allotted amount of time so this is my goal. And I think that goal setting to support the distraction is huge.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. The 25 minutes, 10 minutes. And then
I
you're
like
like, I'm
that
going to
a
get
lot
this
too.
done. It also kind of gives you a little bit of that pressure because, like, a lot of times I'll have a list of things to get done and a big block of time, which doesn't happen often, but you'll get a big block. And I'll be like, okay, how am I going to make sure I actually get through it? Because it's so easy to get
Right.
distracted and
Mhm.
not, and like, how did I not do something for 10 minutes? Because, like, I'll
Right.
see an email and I'll be like, oh, I'm going to look that up. And then I'm going to,
Right.
and then I'm going to email this person back about, and I'm like, wait a minute, I was going to get XYZ done and I didn't. But if you say,
Right.
okay, here's my 25 minutes or my 10 minutes, here's the timer, I'm doing this. Okay.
Help people with all of the emails. Like I find like just knowing I have like 4 or 5 different email accounts for all the different things I do. And I like one day I just want to delete them all. Like just have all of them just disappear and people can reach me by regular snail mail. Like
Yeah.
this is my dream. Like
Yeah.
it's overwhelming to me that all those emails exist out there. What do you tell someone, a working adult or, even a college student who's just like, there's so much coming in. How do I make it stop? How do I manage it?
Again, yes, that's again the example of technology is our best friend and our worst enemy. We are overstimulated with everything coming at our way, and we can't even tap into it because we're just not there yet, right? So that's where I would implement a system of creating folders for the types of subjects your emails might be, color code the emails, and then move them over into those folders so that when you're able to look at them, now you have them organized and you can prioritize versus sifting through 150 emails from the day. Like that's overwhelming
It's
in
terrible.
itself.
But it
It's
sounds
the
like
worst
then
thing
you have
ever.
to invest some time up front of just looking at who it's from and what the subject is and putting them in folders. And then more time to read them.
And then, but that's where the Pomodoro comes in. So you've got your 25 minutes of work. Your break might be go through emails for 10 minutes, go through emails, go back to work, come back for another 10 minutes and go through your emails.
Oh, I
So
like
it's
that.
again, it's creating the systems for the areas of struggle. So if it's something as simple as checking emails, responding to emails. Let's get the physical system in place, which is the folders. And then we assign a time through the day to
Respond as
tackle the
needed or
task.
read. Okay.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
What does working with a middle school student look like? You said that sometimes it requires like coaching the parent, but I know we have a lot of listeners who have middle schoolers and it's such like a
Yeah.
strange time in their lives where their brains and bodies are doing a lot of changing.
Yeah. So that is kind of that gray area of, am I going to get a response from the middle school student that I'm working with? There are a lot. For example, right now I have this 8th grader who's phenomenal. I mean, he's bubbly, he's got a great character, and he tells me everything. I love that. I can work with that. But then you have the middle school student who's like, why are you making me do this? I don't want to be here. But the parent is like, oh, but you do. And so that's where a lot of the parent coaching might come in. And it's truly based on how much information and support am I going to get from the middle school student versus the parent. And so ultimately, when you think of executive functioning with some of the younger kids, there's a buy-in factor. Do they want to be here or do they not want to be here? And if they don't want to be here, oftentimes that's where the parent coaching comes in because I'm going to get much more from the parent than I am from the student. And that's where we would create our systems based on what the struggles are. And then we'd have that weekly session where we're checking in, what worked, what didn't work, were they responsive, were they not? And that's the beauty of executive function, that is that it can be modified however you need, because it's that one-on-one coaching.
That's so nice.
Okay.
What about the high school students? Are they more open to working with you directly?
Yes, I think by high school, the high school students recognize that they need the support. And then once they get going, they actually recognize, oh my God, my life is easier. My life feels more manageable because we're working on all of the things that have felt so hard for them. So from high school, once they get to me, they're looking for the systems. They want that help because they want to be able to go out and do what they want to do without being bombarded on a weekend with homework on Saturday and Sunday. So yes, I do feel like high school is much more responsive. And we're also then prepping them for college. So by the time the high school students have had the support in high school, by the time they get to college,
They're more
if I'm still
successful.
working with that kid, at that point it's accountability. And then by the time they get to college, when I see them implementing the systems, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm a proud mother because they're doing it. And that is the whole point of these sessions.
I just don't understand how we're all functioning without you, Teri.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I was just gonna start asking you, what are your rates, and do you have any openings?
Right, we need you. We all need you.
Well, I have started with a few actual moms that are business owners in the area. We have started a women's cohort. And obviously, like, we've sort of fallen off the bandwagon with spring break, but we were meeting every Friday. And it was amazing because we were just sharing out so many struggles and what systems one person might be using that I could, so that's been really great, is that women's cohort, which is awesome.
Okay. So do you offer like group?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do it all.
Well, I feel like, Teri, when my kids were little, we had the cell phones and everything, but it wasn't like everyone's schedules weren't on there. And I had this giant calendar on the side of my refrigerator.
I remember that calendar was beautiful.
And everyone had a color.
Yes,
and it was color coded, and it was like everything was on there. And it was just like, so if the kids said, what do I have today? I'd be like, go to the fridge. Because like there's so many moving parts. I loved it. Yes, I loved it more than I love my phone calendar, I have to say.
Color coding is a huge piece. I mean, again, my kids are younger. I have a 4th grader and a 5th grader, but they both have desktop calendars and everything is color coded because, again, I'm trying to teach them now systems that they can use later in their educational journey. I mean, I have one who's definitely more responsive to it than the other, but I will say the one that hasn't been as responsive, he asked me one day, oh, what do I have tomorrow? And he goes, wait, let me look at my calendar. I won.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
You start them truly with just elementary systems. The hope is that we see it later.
Okay.
And it pays off.
I have to say, I did get myself a paper calendar for the first time in a long time this year. And I got out my little markers, all my little different colored markers, because I find I have a couple of different roles that I play in my life and that none of my calendars sync up to the same place.
Right.
Some of them just can't because of like healthcare laws and such. And so sometimes I'm like, okay, am I free? Am I not free? And I have to like kind of block things off in different colors so I know where to be when. But I do like seeing it visually, especially at night before bed and first thing in the morning. So I feel like I can like go to sleep without worrying what's happening tomorrow in my head.
Okay. Do you want me to like, you're going to have a seizure from like what I'm about to describe to you when you picture this in your head. So I'm able to put all my calendars in my phone. So I have my work calendar because it's Outlook, and I have the one I share with my kid's dad. And then there's one calendar that is shared with our older daughter because she's got a phone so she can see those events. And then we've got the Digestible Podcast, and we put those in. But if I have a Digestible event in my Digestible calendar, I need to make sure nobody at work sends me an invite for that time. So I put Melissa meeting in the work calendar, but I also put it in the shared calendar with my kid's dad, and so he doesn't try calling me during this. So I literally have Melissa meeting, Digestible interview, and then da-da-da-da-da. So like everything's duplicated, triplicates, because everyone needs to know what I'm doing. And
It's
then if
terrible.
I try to look at my day, I like even though they're different colors. I like have a seizure. I can't.
And I think this is very much like how working parents, their calendars look like. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So
And again, that's where it's really, meeting with the client to hear out what systems they do have in place, and then taking the time to figure out how can we streamline to make it feel more manageable versus
right.
having a seizure. We don't.
No, I definitely need to figure out something with my system. Clearly, my system has room for improvement. But people, I mean, the systems are, yeah.
We all have them.
But sometimes I think it's great to have somebody like you who you can bounce stuff off of, right? Ideas, but also you have a track record of success with other people. And so you, based on like what you know about your client and what's worked for people like that client, you can propose tools that you think would probably work best. And so they're not spending as much time trial and error.
And the accountability.
Yes, the accountability is the biggest piece. I mean, and that's what's nice with the women's cohort actually, is that we just spend time sharing out all of our systems and strategies, and we are bouncing ideas off of each other. But then there are a lot of, let's say, college kids or even high school kids who just want the sessions for the weekly accountability of like, hey, this is what I've got this week. Will you help me prioritize, or will you help me break a study guide down into smaller parts? Or will you help me create, let me go back. I would say also a big hot topic now, and this is like its own podcast, is study skills. How do I study? Because
I don't know how these kids study with everything on the computer.
Actually, my older daughter asks me all the time, like, Mom, I don't know how to study. Where can I find out how to study? And I'm like, I don't know.
You need the textbook. You need the textbook with the highlighter and the notebook.
Well, I'm just saying,
and that's what they don't have.
Right. That's a good point.
And that's where the executive functioning comes in, because, for example, there might be kids or even adults, like there's not one box that everyone's fitting in. And I think that's also a big topic, is that if you're thinking of kids, it's challenging to be sitting in a classroom, no matter what the age, because everyone is placed in the same box. And the nice thing with executive functioning, knowing that there are 24 kids don't all fit in the same box in the way that their mind works, that's the gift of executive functioning, is I can take their workload and I can figure out what would actually work for you. So directions are given, let's say for high school or college kids, and it's like 2 pages of directions, and you're kind of like, where's the information on what I actually need to do? That's where we will pull that out, and I will create a whole new system so that it helps them track information that they're looking for. So for example, let's say someone's working on a research paper. Well, where are you writing down your sources? Where are you writing down your information? How are you tracking that? And they're like, well, I'm just writing it in my notebook. I'm like, oh, no, yes, love the writing, but no, we want to create a system. So how can we create a chart or a graphic organizer that's color-coded, that's titled, evidence, source, information that I really want to use in my paper? How can I, there's so many ways to support these tasks that are being asked of the kids that we don't even think of.
That's amazing.
That go along with executive functioning.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm sitting here thinking of everything you're saying and thinking about my kids in high school and how the only books that any of them really had were their novels. English requires you to buy the book and annotate in it and highlight and do all the things. But like, that's the only class that requires you to actually have a physical book that you're.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And I will ask, like, one system that I am really putting in place for a lot of kids at this point is print your notes, print the slides that the teacher is presenting to you. Let's create a binder. Number one, so you physically have it, you can highlight, you can annotate, but also you're creating a path for when it's midterms or it's finals, you have everything. Versus when I look at some of these like Canvas or Schoology, whatever the schools are using, how are you supposed to find the notes that you're looking for when you have week 1, week 2, week 3, and you've got millions of slides that the teacher's presented? How do you find what you're looking for?
It seems so
And so that's
overwhelming.
it is, and that's why I bring it back to the 80s. Let's print the slides, make a binder, put dividers. So it's like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and then you
Right.
can flip.
And you
We're
can make
making
notes
our own
on the
book.
slides. You can make
Yes,
notes on the
we are
slides.
creating our own book. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
Wow. No, that
I've
was
given you so much
amazing.
information,
I
and I
love
feel like
it. I feel like now I need a session for myself.
I know.
well, but when people call, I feel like I have so much information to share that oftentimes just that initial phone call can feel so overwhelming because there's just so many directions that you can go with executive functioning, and it really depends on you as a business owner. What's your struggle? Like I have someone I'm working with that literally is copying and pasting his contacts from Excel and then he puts them in an email. I'm like, no, 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 you can create a group in your email and you just click that group and out goes the email. It's also because technology is so prevalent in our world, we don't even know how to use it, right? And so
Right.
that's a big
And it
too.
changes so fast.
It
Correct.
does.
Correct. So I've given you a lot.
You have.
But it's
great.
amazing.
Hopefully our
It's been
listeners
amazing.
are getting lots of good nuggets from this conversation. I can't imagine they're not.
I know. Okay, before we get to our final questions, how do you prevent or help someone who chronically is losing their wallet or keys? Not
Why
to
do you
name
ask,
names.
Stacy?
I don't know. I might be married to one of them. Let's give them a tip.
It's so simple. There is one place and one place only. And you have to pick what that one place and that one place only is that your wallet and your keys go to. And it never leaves that spot again. When you walk in the house, you put it down. When you walk out of the house, you take it, but it is one place and one place only. It does take time.
Yeah. He has the place. The problem is when he moves it from the place.
Well, we have to have a conversation with him then.
Yeah.
I lose my phone constantly in the house and my earbuds constantly. So
Earbuds
I'm
are tricky.
gonna take the same
So small.
advice. Huh?
Earbuds are tricky because they're small. But okay,
Yeah.
here's another
Well,
system.
there's a case.
Make a basket so that it's large. Visually, you can see it. It's
Yeah.
not small like the keys and the wallet and the earbuds. Have a basket that is your basket. If it would help to label that basket for your sweet husband, we could do that too. Now, where does the basket go? That's the question. I know for kids, some families, when we've talked about this, it's on the steps. Everything that is yours that needs to go up, down, around, wherever, it goes in that basket versus everywhere. So it's really, again, streamlining, keyword, into one specific basket, box, whatever, and location.
I lost my phone this morning because I was going upstairs from the gym into my room and I stopped to talk to my husband and I saw a box of something that was empty out on the counter. I'm like, oh, I think we have more in the pantry. And I go in the pantry and realize I need to turn the light on. And so I put my phone down and turned the light on, looked for the new box, left the pantry, and I'm like, where did I leave my phone? And it was sitting in the pantry because I didn't have any pockets, and so I didn't put my phone in my pocket.
To say, my phone lives in my pocket.
My life is like I find my phone in the weirdest places because I put it down when I'm doing the most random, unplanned things. So I think you're right. Like I just need to, I don't know.
One of the doctors I work with has as the strap on her phone, like the purse strap phone, and she wears her phone everywhere. So her phone's always on her. If she walks away, it's so she doesn't have pockets. She always has it like on her body.
I'll wear it. I guess I'll wear it.
Sleep with it. Wake up with it.
All right.
I mean, crazy.
Thanks for the private session in the middle of the interview.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's get to our final questions. So, Teri, here at the Digestible Podcast, we like to ask our guests 2 questions. The first one would be if you had a takeaway for our listeners today, something they could do, an actionable item, what would it be?
Okay. Bring the 80s back. Get things out of your phones and your computers and get an organized system, whether it's a paper planner, a notebook, but write things down so you can visually see it. And the other takeaway, I think, that's so important to remember is you're not alone. like we are all struggling with some sort of executive functioning aspect in our world. And I think oftentimes we feel like we're the only ones, but you're not. And I think a huge takeaway is to open up and share and talk with your friends, talk with your family, because again, you're not alone. And the more that people feel supported, the more you're going to be able to find success in ways that you've never thought you would find them, because sometimes we feel ashamed or embarrassed, and this is who we are, you know? So I think the more you're willing to open up, bring it back to the 80s, hopefully we find success in that.
I love that so much. And I love the 80s. So I'm all in for bringing back the 80s. Miss, you want to ask our final question?
Sure. Teri, here at the Digestible Podcast, we'd like to say, don't panic, just pivot. Is there a pivot or small change that you've made in your life that you're proud of that you'd be willing to share with us today?
I think my biggest pivot has been space and grace. I have learned that if we are going to implement new systems that are clearly a struggle, let's give space to give time for it to work, and grace. Like, we're going to make errors. It's not always going to be perfect right away. It takes time, especially if it's something new that we've not done before. So I think just the space and grace to grow and figure out what works and doesn't work. And I've had to do that, like almost like a stop, pause, and think.
That's great.
I love that.
Thank
Those
you.
are good words to live by. Thank you so much for your time today, Teri.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate you
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me.
And now we all need your help.
Well, feel free. I love working with people, and I think getting that one-on-one is a huge support.
Great.
Truly.
Thank you.
It's an amazing thing.
You're welcome. It was fun to be here.
Thank you for listening to the Digestible Podcast with today's guest, Teri Arieti of Arieti Consulting, Executive Functioning Coach. If you like today's episode, please share us with others. It's the best compliment you can give us. If you have any questions or comments, please email us at info@digestiblestrategies.com. We look forward to hearing from you. And remember, don't panic, just pivot. The content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. We are not medical professionals, and the views expressed here are not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any health conditions. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making any health-related decisions.